Hello dear students. In this video, we are discuss about the disorder of lipid metabolism. In lipid metabolism chapter, we had already covered the beta oxidation of fatty acid, denosynthesis of palmitic acid, ketoacidosis, synthesis of various steroidal hormone. This point we had already discussed in lecture. In this video, we discuss about the last point of this topic, that is the disorder of lipid metabolism. So there are four different types of disorder in lipid metabolism. We discuss one by one. The first disorder is the hypercholesterolemia. The hypercholesterolemia means to increase the plasma concentration of cholesterol above the normal, that is, if the concentration of the cholesterol is more than 200 milligram per deciliter, this condition is called as the hypercholesterolemia. This hypercholesterolemia is observed in many disorders such as diabetes mellitus, hypothyroidism, obstructive jaundice, and nephrotic syndrome. The hypercholesterolemia is associated with the second disorder, that is the atherosclerosis. This atherosclerosis means there is a deposition of the cholesterol in the wall of the artery, or due to the deposition of the cholesterol in the wall of the artery becomes narrowing and it becomes thickened. So atherosclerosis means what? Thickening of artery and narrowing of the artery. Due to the narrowing of the coronary artery, which may lead to stop the blood supply towards the heart. So there may be the chances in atherosclerosis to myocardial infarction or the heart attack due to the stopping the supply of the blood towards the heart. So the cholesterol are of two types. The cholesterol is nothing but the lipoprotein. So there are two types of the lipoprotein. First one is the high density lipoprotein and second one is the low density lipoprotein or very low density lipoprotein, which is also called as the bad cholesterol. So for hypercholesterolemia and for atherosclerosis, the LDL and VLDL is responsible. So the HDL is a good cholesterol, and this good cholesterol is responsible to reduce the level of the bad cholesterol. So on the other hand, the HDL may be considered as an highly desirable lipoprotein. So how we control the hypercholesterolemia? The hypercholesterolemia is controlled by the consumption of polyunsaturated fatty acid, then intake of plant food rather than the animal food. Then plant sterol is also responsible to reduce the plasma cholesterol level. The dietary fibers, the fibers are present in the vegetables. These fibers are responsible to decrease the cholesterol absorption from the intestine. Avoiding the high carbohydrate diet, that should be avoided the high carbohydrate diet to control the hypercholesterolemia. The reduces the smoking, abdominal obesity, then exercise, then reduce the stress, reduce the high blood pressure, reduce the consumption of soft water. This factor is also responsible to decrease the level of the cholesterol. Moderate alcohol consumption like red wine or The consumption of alcohol is decrease the LDL or VLDL in the blood. Or there are various drugs are available in market such as the lovastatin, atorvastatin, simvastatin and the pravastatin. These are the various drugs are available. By use this drug, by the level of cholesterol in blood it becomes reduces. So the next disorder is an atherosclerosis. The atherosclerosis, this disorder is associated with the hypercholesterolemia. We discuss about the hypercholesterolemia. This hypercholesterolemia is associated with the atherosclerosis due to the deposition of the cholesterol in the wall of the artery. The artery becomes thickened and becomes narrowing. So this mainly in atherosclerosis, the coronary artery is get affected. So this is called as the coronary heart disease. And due to the narrowing of this artery, the blood supply towards the heart becomes reduces or becomes stopped. So there may be the chances of the myocardial infarction or the heart attack. So the same causes we are we are already discussing hypercholesterolemia. Same causes are we are discussing the atherosclerosis or coronary heart diseases. In atherosclerosis, the cholesterol play a very important role. So the LDL is the bad cholesterol is responsible, they are inversely proportional to the coronary heart diseases, and the LDL is directly proportional to the coronary heart diseases, and the HDL, high density lipoprotein, is inversely correlated with the CHD. Means when the level of HDL is increases in blood, so there may be a less chances to occur the coronary heart disease. And if the LDL level is increased in the blood, so there is an directly correlated to the coronary heart disease or the atherosclerosis. Certain disease and some factor is also responsible in atherosclerosis, such as the diabetes mellitus, hyper lipoproteinemia, nephrotic syndrome, hypothyroidism. Same disease and disorder we see in the hypercholesterolemia. Many other factors, obesity, high consumption of saturated fat, excessive smoking, lack of physical exercise, these factors is also responsible in atherosclerosis. How we control the atherosclerosis? When we take an abundant quantity of antioxidant, this antioxidant is responsible to the oxidation of an LDL, means to decrease the level of LDL in the blood. Such as antioxidant are vitamin E, vitamin C, P-carotene is also reduces the risk of atherosclerosis. So the increase the level of plasma HDL is correlated with the low incidence of the cardiovascular disorder. In women have a higher HDL than in men. That's why the women are less prone to heart disease. This is attributed to the estrogen in women. The strenuous physical exercise, moderate alcohol intake, then consumption of the vegetables, then polyunsaturated fatty acid, then reduction of body weight, all these tend to increase the HDL level and reduce the risk of the atherosclerosis or coronary heart disease. The next disorder is the fatty liver. So in fatty liver, the not concentration of lipid, mostly the phospholipid in a liver, is around 5%. Liver is not a storage organ for fat in certain condition. The lipid, especially triacylglycerol, accumulate excessively in a liver, resulting the fatty liver. In the normal liver, the Kupffer cells contain lipid in the form of droplet. But in fatty liver, droplet of triacylglycerols are found in the entire cytoplasm of the hepatic cells. This causes impairment in a metabolic function of a liver. The fatty liver is associated with fibrotic changes and liver cirrhosis or cirrhosis. The fatty liver may occur due to the two main reasons. First one is the increased synthesis of the triacylglycerol and the impairment of the lipoprotein synthesis. Increase the triacylglycerol, which mobilization of free fatty acid from adipose tissue and their influx into the liver is much higher than their utilization, and this may leads to the overproduction of the triacylglycerol and their accumulation in the liver. So in diabetes mellitus, starvation, alcoholism and high fat diet are associated with increased mobilization of fatty acid that often cause a fatty liver. The alcohol is also inhibit the fatty acid oxidation, and thus it promotes the fat synthesis and the deposition of triacylglycerol in a liver. So the person who addict to alcohol, then in such cases the person is suffering to the liver cirrhosis, because the alcohol is inhibit the fatty acid oxidation, and due to the inhibition of the fatty acid oxidation, there is the synthesis or accumulation of the triacylglycerol in the cytoplasm of the hepatic cell, and which may leads to the there is an fibrotic or the fibrosis or the cirrhosis is also observed in the liver cell, and this condition is called as the fatty liver. The second is the impairment synthesis of the lipoprotein. The synthesis of the very low density lipoprotein actively takes place in a liver. The very low density lipoprotein formation requires a phospholipid and apoprotein B. The fatty liver caused by impaired lipoprotein synthesis may be due to a defect in phospholipid synthesis or a block of apoprotein formation. So the fatty liver is also caused, this disease is also caused due to the impaired synthesis of the lipoprotein. So the deficiency of vitamin E is also associated with the fatty liver. So the selenium is also act as to protective agent in such condition. The some more endocrine factor, certain hormones like adrenocorticotropic hormone, insulin, thyroid hormone, adrenocorticoids, uh, these promotes the deposition of fat in liver. So some endocrine hormone is also responsible to the deposition of a triacylglycerol in a liver. Next and the last disorder is the obesity. The obesity is an abdominal increase in a body weight due to excessive fat deposition. Men and women are considered as obese if their weight due to a fat respectively. The weight of men and women is more than 20% and 25% of the body weight with respect to their height, which means the person becomes obese. The obesity is basically a disorder of excess calories intake. In simple language, due to the overeating, the obesities occur. It has to be a remember that every 7 calories of excess consumption leads to a 1 gram fat deposit and increase in the body weight. Overeating coupled with a lack of physical exercise contribute to obesity. Clinical obesity is represented by a body mass index. The body mass index is calculated as weight in kilogram divided by the height. So, the obesity is categorized into 3 grades. In grade first, the obesity or overweight, in overweight, the body mass index in between 25 to 30 kilogram per meter square. In grade 2 or in clinical obesity, the body mass index is more than 30 kilogram per meter square. And in grade 3, which is also called as the morbid obesity, the body mass index is more than 40 kilogram per meter square. So the obesity is associated with the many health complications. Example, type 2 diabetes, coronary heart diseases, hypertension, stroke, arthritis, gallbladder disease. So these obesity is associated with the various disorder. Hence, the treatment of the obesity is assume a lot of a significance in the prevention of the diseases. The obesity is also a genetic. It is also inherited. So there is a strong evidence to suggest that the obesity has a genetic basis. A child born to two obese people has about 25% chances of being obese. So the one genes, namely a OB gene, expressed in an adipocyte, producing a protein called an leptin. This is the 1/3 of the world population. So for the treatment of the obesity, the dieting and exercising are the main treatment for the obesity. Diet quality can be improved by reducing the consumption of energy dense food such as those high in fat and sugars, and by increasing the intake of the dietary fibers. So the excess weight, especially in obesity, is a major risk factor for the cardiovascular disease. The type 2 diabetes, some musculoskeletal conditions, and some cancer. All the level of excess weight increases, so does the risk of developing this condition. In addition, being overweight can hamper the ability to control or manage a chronic disorder. So, in obesity, the treatment is to take a high quality of diet which having decrease the fat content and sugar content food, and high and good nutritional quality food or the dietary fiber intake is also helpful to reduce the body mass index or the body weight. The one more thing is exercising are the main treatment, and the dieting, a proper dieting is one more treatment against the obesity. So these are the various disease and the disorder of lipid metabolism, and hence these all disease and disorders are related to the lipid metabolism. These disease and the disorders are associated with the each other. So in exam there may be the chances to ask the question write about the disorder, write about the any two disorder of the lipid metabolism, or write a note on a fatty liver and hypercholesterolemia. Okay, so this disease is also asked for 5 mark in the exam. So these diseases are very simple. These are the very general and common disease and the disorder. So it is a very simple. So for slow learner students, this disease is very important to learn, to write down in exam. So the slow learner is also focused on this disorder, and it is a very easy to understand. So apart from this information, you can also write the another information in disease and the disorder. If these disorders are these questions are asked in exam, so be prepared, and thank you.